Podcast. It's our final Takeover Tour recap. Can you believe it? Can you two? No, they can't. How's it? How are we here? How are we here? It still feels only like yesterday that this year's tour got announced, and we were all starting to wonder, okay, can we maybe do that week in March? Can we do it? It's like it just feels crazy. It's like how have we arrived here, guys? How has it happened? How? And yet we had 16 this year. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, you know. And it's just been honestly, yeah. So we will of course be having, like we did last year over the summer. We will have an episode where we're gonna where Lady will come on, and us three will recap. Well, it's not really recap, it's more share our memories from each stop on the tour. Yeah, if you haven't checked last year's out, you can go there. It's called Girls on Tour. That's going to be the exact same title we're going to use for this year's, but of course we'll put the season in the title as well. I've done that with last year's just to make sure that's clearly different. It's different, true, but yeah, crazy. We've now come to the end of the Takeover Tour. It's been an absolutely incredible roller coaster, and just incredible. So yeah, so our final stop saw us return to Edmonton as the Vancouver Goldeneyes got a second opportunity to host a home game in the province of Alberta, and this time they were hosting what the contenders to be hoisting that World Cup in May. The Boston Fleet, they've just done so incredible this year's Boston. I mean, just wow. And what a way to go out on the tour. I mean, right, it's crazy how obviously this time last year, on the last day of the tour, the only team not to get a win got a win, and the exact same thing happened again this year. The last team to get a win on the tour got the win on the tour. Now for Boston, it's a bit bizarre because before that, Boston had two previous goes. First was in Detroit against these Goldeneyes. That was, of course, when the Goldeneyes got their first road win. It was a very shocking comeback fashion. That was in Detroit, and then a week later they fell to Ottawa in a shootout in Halifax. So Boston hasn't really done well this year on the Takeover Tour, despite the fact they've literally been invincible in their home state. So incredible. But honestly, this game absolutely just wow, incredible. I mean, the offense. I mean, we haven't really seen that much offense on the tour. A lot of these games have been very, very close scores. Majority of them have been decided by just one goal. And we've seen some thrilling moments. I'm going to look forward to reliving some many of those memories in the summer. But for now, we're going to focus on this game, which took place on April the 7th. So, yeah, so we'll get straight to it. We'll get started to it. We'll go into the recap as always, and then we will do the quotes, 3 stars again, and I'll do some 5 points Edmonton. Remember, that's a new format we introduced for the second half of this tour. The first half we did the same format we did last year, and then obviously we changed the format when we got back from Minneapolis and Denver, and I think it's worked out quite well. Yeah, so with next season's tour, but let's face it, the Takeover Tour basically is going to be part of our DNA now. I mean, I think last year we did wonder, would it not? But, you know, would the league maybe try and do something different to, you know, gauge interest outside its markets? But no, it's pretty much a safe bet that the Takeover Tour will continue into the foreseeable future. There's a lot of suggestions about what you could do with it, and I think we're also going to do an episode in the summer where we're going to talk about what we might want to do with the tour as a trio, what we think you could do. But what a way to end. And Edmonton, you did well again for your attendance, but we were so narrowly close! We were so narrowly close to 200,000 people! So obviously, I've been keeping a record of all the attendance numbers, and we got so close. Going into that game in Edmonton, we had 188,000 people attending a Takeover Tour this year. If Edmonton just got 12,000, we would have hit that mark! And when you add it all together, it's narrowly close. I'm going to give you it on the episode we're going to do this summer. I'll give you that total attendance number. You will see how narrowly close it was. You will not believe your eyes. It was so close. Anyway, let's get straight to this recap. So, Boston explodes to 5-1 win over Vancouver in PWHL Takeover Tour finale in Edmonton. 10 Boston Fleet players made the score sheet in a 5-1 outburst over the Vancouver Goldeneyes in the DoorDash PWHL Takeover Tour presented by Explore Edmonton, hosted in front of 10,794 fans. This is a quick comparison what they did in the last one. I think it might be a bit more than the last one, just by a couple hundred. We'll just do a quick comparison of that, just quickly. Just compare. So in December, the Goldeneyes drew 10,264 when they hosted our Frost. That was back on December the 27th. That was a long night for me involving my hockey teams because both the Frost and Sharks had Vancouver teams to deal with. Yes, and we watched K-pop as well. We got around to watching K-pop that night as well. Yeah, thanks, lady. Yeah, so a tiny increase there in terms of attendance there from Edmonton compared to the last one. So 10,794 fans at Rogers Place Tuesday, led by a 2-goal night from Fleet newcomer Jesse Eldridge and 3 assists from rookie Abby Newark. Boston broke out with 2 and 3 goals in the first and second periods respectively. There we go. Where was that going? Oh, is it someone not privy again? No. Well, Aerin Frankel stretched her shutout streak to 236 minutes and 45 seconds before the league's leading defensive goal scorer Sophie Jakes finally put one past the Olympic gold medalist at 5:44 of the third period. Although it was a freeing goal, kind of a consolation mark there. Kind of a consolation mark. After her first goal was called back due to goaltender interference, Eldridge quickly rallied to put a goal that counted 30 seconds later, going top corner off a rebound from a block shot. Captain Megan Keller followed up at 1914 with a short-handed breakout of the bottom zone to score her first career jailbreak goal, tapping the puck in past a sprawling Eris Mashmeyer. Eldridge notched Boston's first power play marker against Vancouver after winning a puck battle in front of the net to tap in a goal 5-hole at 3:04 of the second period. Cesar Tapani and Jamie Lee Rattray rounded out Boston scoring, each burying the puck less than 1 minute apart at 15:46 and 16:36. Jake's goal was one for the highlight reel. It really was, by the way. With a drag through 2 Boston defenders before ripping a shot from the hash marks. Frankel stopped the other 28 shots she faced to earn her 17th win of the season. Kristen Hamill replaced Mashmeyer at the start of the third period and stopped all 6 shots. Why is it with these teams coaches this year choosing to wait till the 3rd to replace netminder. If you know your netminder's not working after one period, then make the switch. Why are you waiting till the 3rd period? You know, it's like what happening in Denver. Because in Denver, when we got to a good HubBD, that you will see on the highlights package, because our Warbar goals, New York did immediately call a timeout. And if you watch the highlights package, you can hear me, Pluto, and Lady all basically concur with another, saying, yeah, we think Osborne's going. We think Rick Barnes is going to pull Osborne. Oh no! Didn't happen at all. She still stayed in the nets. Okay, we couldn't foresee what was about to happen, but still. So no. Here's a tip for me next season going forward. If you know it's not working with your netminder, switch them out. Why are you making them suffer? Okay? Especially for Vancouver, it just didn't get any better. It really didn't. So, you know. Anyway. Right, Vancouver ends their 5-game 19-day road trip 1004, returning to the Pacific Coliseum next Tuesday for a home against Seattle. It's crazy how it's taken to the final 2 weeks of the season for the Torrent to finally have a visit from the Goldeneyes in Seattle. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Boston, they return home in 2nd place to a sold-out crowd for the PHL's first ever game at TD Garden on Saturday against first place Montreal. That is going to be so exciting. And of course, we're going to be joined by our Boston Bruins supporter, Reese Price Goofy, for that game. He's been joining us in all the PHL games we've been watching this week, so really good. He's been really trying to get himself ready for it, so he doesn't come in on Saturday cold. He is going to join me for the recap episode of that game. We're going to be recording that on Monday, just like how I recorded the MSG recap this Monday that's just gone. We're recording this episode on Friday, April the 10th, so just the day before the big game. And I'm also going to do an episode with him where he's going to talk about watching a PHL game properly for the very first time. Because the East crew, while they do stay in the room with us, they don't really properly engage with the broadcast. They're very much just like, right, leave those 3 be. Leave them be. Leave them in their prime. Let them be happy. Just don't. Okay, and you want maybe ask them about it the next day. Just leave them be. So while the East crew do stay in the room, they have been very supportive. They don't very well. It's on. Leave them be. But we're very excited that Reese is going to be joining us for that with T Gallagher. So it's going to be excited to watch that. But that is Boston's next game. Tonight's game was the last of the 16-game Takeover Tour that saw the PHL expand its audience to 11 different markets in 2025-26. It's going to be very interesting to see what they will do in 2026-27, because with 16, was that one too many? I don't know, especially how you had 11 markets. You know, some markets got, 2 stops. Would it maybe better to have in one state and do it different cities? I don't know. There's still ideas which we're going to workshop this summer, which we'll do. Yeah, but I think it was 16. Was that one too many? Especially how in the early days of the tour, the numbers weren't really picking up. Looking at you, Chicago. Looking at you. Looking at you, Windy City. You let us down. You let me down, you let yourselves down, you let the whole school down! Looking at you, Chicago. Right, so on to quotes. And we're going to start with the Fleet, and we're going to hear from their assistant coach, Stephanie McHugh, who of course was behind the bench for that game, because as you guys know, Chris Barr was otherwise detained, and we do have a first episode covering that, so you can go check that out. Or the Boston Fleet socials, or whatever takes your fancy. Let's hear what their assistant coach had to say on what getting the win as interim head coach meant to her. This is what she had to say. I walked in the locker room and the girls pounded. The girls poured water. water all over me. It was a nice moment. I've said it before, it's an honour and a privilege to coach this group. I didn't know Chris was going to do what he did, but it's an honour to have gotten to know some of these girls over the course of 2 seasons, and new players, whether it was at draft day or a couple of weeks ago. I'm super lucky to get to do this, and hopefully we keep moving forward here with this group. Next up, boss boy Jesse Eldridge on joining the fleet and finding team success. Tonight in Edmonton, this is what I'm trying to say. It has been a lot of fun. I'm just glad I don't have to play this team anymore. They've had success for a reason. You can tell how bought in everyone has been, but even tonight, getting 5 goals is really hard in this league. The amount of pride everyone took in trying to protect the 0 shows there's a lot of character in our room. We're excited to keep it going. Yeah, of course, obviously, because Jesse Eldridge originally was with Seattle, and of course got traded to Boston. That big trade. Of course, Seattle didn't have much success against Boston. Although you did get that massive win the night before we flew out to Minneapolis, so you can take pride there. Little did we know that was our last game for Seattle. Little did we know there was going to be a trade happening while we were in the States. Little did we know. But, you know. In fact, there was lots of news that happened during our trip that we're not prepared for. It's crazy how you had both how that happened, but also the national games as well. The national television deal. That also was like, you growing up. And I'm like, yeah, it's great, but we're on holiday. We're in the States. I'm nowhere near my laptop. I can't record the thoughts on this. You're going to have to put the backlog. We've still got to do our thoughts on our hotels. That's our last bit of trick content to do. Then we're done. Anyway, so I kind of just been funny. Yeah, great. I don't play anymore. But what happens if you get traded there again, Jesse? Have you thought about that? No. I'm not sure if Boston's going to be able to keep her. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Might be expansion target. We'll see. Right, moving on to Vancouver. And first up on their side is head coach Brian Odarski on his team's stronger performance in the 3rd period. Was it, Brian? Was it really? Anyway, let's hear what I have to say. The 3rd period was positive. We started it the right way. Managed pucks way better. Got some opportunities and chances. I was happy with the fact that we played the 3rd period a little bit more indicative of what we're capable of. And to round us off, we have Goldeneyes captain Ashton Bell on the team's response in the 3rd period. It's what to say. The message in the locker room, we all kind of just took a break. Took a breath and regrouped. We knew we weren't proud of our first 2 periods, but we wanted to come out in the 3rd and win the period. We did that, and we produced some offense as well. We made the shots even, but we definitely need to find a way to have a full 60-minute game. And we'll finish on the 3 stars of the game. They were as follows. The 3rd star, Cesar Tapani, Boston, 1 goal, 1 assist. The 2nd star, Abby Newark, Boston, 3 assists. And no prize getting to the 1st star is Jesse Eldridge, Boston, 2 goals. Right, we do some final thoughts on Edmonton. Yeah, I could really tell the atmosphere was there. I could really tell that, you know, Edmonton, the fan base, the fans out there in the stands, really getting into the spirit of it. But I just don't know with Alberta who's going to go first. Okay, I think... Right. When it comes to the problems of Alberta, I think both markets, so Edmonton and Calgary, I think both of them are perfect for this league. And wouldn't it be epic if we could get our own version of the Battle of Alberta and we make it more exciting than the current Battle of Alberta we have in the National Hockey League? I mean, seriously, Conor McDavid has been in this league for more than a decade now, and we still have not seen a really thrilling, exciting Battle of Alberta. Okay, yeah, you tried in the 2022 playoffs, but that was very much one-sided, wasn't it? Because basically after game 1, Edmonton just flipped the script and just took full control. Despite the fact that Leon Draisaitl did end up then getting an injury he had to deal with the remainder of those playoffs. Remember that very well. Yeah. Oh god. The 2022 West Coast Playoffs was a very conflicting one for me, because while my heart went Edmonton, my head felt that this was Bernie's year. This was the moment, the Avalanche, to finally get over the line and get it done. So for me, that West Coast Playoff guaranteed to have someone to root for the finals, but it wasn't which is always the case. Especially even more frustrating how Edmonton the last 2 years have had opportunities to get the job done and failed miserably. We'll see what happens this year. We will see what happens this year, especially as we know the Panthers are not going to be competing in the playoffs this year. 7th time that's happened in Stanley Cup history that the previous year's champion has not gone back to the playoffs. Yet to happen to PHL, thank God. And hopefully when it does happen, it's not my team. I always say, when it comes to the crown, I would rather have the opportunity to defend it and if we have to lose it, we lose it by that way the playoffs, rather than we not get in the first place and just basically on the sideline. Okay? What I'm trying to say is when the time comes to be dethroned, for me, it will sting less if it happened in the playoffs, because I can say at least we had a chance to defend it, rather than us being eliminated before the playoffs began, and then, we just basically had to hand it over. But yeah. So I think Everton, from what I've seen in terms of the fans' passion for it, they've had steady numbers over the last 2 years now. I can't remember what the one from last year got. I think it did quite well. You might go back and dig out last year's recap on them and see if it mentioned it there. But 20,000 across 2 games. That's similar to what Halifax did. So the passion's there. And Everton this year, as Lee has very well pointed out, Everton this year has been really trying to make that push for women's hockey. Everton hosted both games in the Canadian leg of the rivalry series back in December, and then had 2 Takeover Tour games in this season. So you kind of feel that Edmonton is really making a push for women's hockey. My concern is, has the AHL basically talked the city out of our market? Because I think there are some AHL markets out there who are less keen on us being a part of their venue because they can't own a piece of the pie. I think there's quite a few AHL teams, owners out there who would be happy to welcome us in, but at the cost of saying, no, we want to own this team. Like how there's in the AHL, a lot of the teams in the AHL are owned by the AHL team they are affiliated with, like my San Jose Barracuda, for example, are affiliated with my San Jose Sharks. That is one example. So, I have heard, since I got back from Minneapolis, I have heard there is potentially one market out there who was a front runner who has taught themselves out of it because the AHL team owner actually would rather be the owner of the PHL team. That's not how it's going to work. Okay? That's not how it works. Right now, we are not in a position where teams can be sold to different entities. That's not how it works. Okay? Right now, that's not how it works. I actually prefer all these teams being under one umbrella because you know that you can rely and trust the people owning these teams, rather than you sell it to a greedy billionaire who has no clue how to run a cake stall, never mind a professional sports team. And from somebody who had to put up with a terrible owner for 11 years in Major League Baseball with the Goldeneyes, I know firsthand what can happen if you just give a team to anybody and it just run with it, okay? So, yeah. I mean, the guys that run the Oakland Ballers, they know what they're doing. And they're not billionaires. They are your everyday guys, and yet they've managed to build a very successful team for the last 2 seasons. Seems to be 3. God, Ballers season's near. Never mind talking about getting close to the end of this season, but for me, Ballers season is almost here. May 19 is opening day for us, so not long that. So that'll probably be during the World Cup finals, like it was last year. But yeah, so I feel now I'm not saying it's Edmonton, but I think of those teams in Canada, I think it might be Edmonton, because I think Winnipeg would do it if they could work out how to sort out the talent situation. Because Winnipeg has 2 hockey leagues that I'm involved in. It could have all 3, but it's just the talents. I'm not sure how would that work. Calgary, well, Calgary can sort themselves out with this new arena, then yes, please. We know the Flames are moving to a new one in 27-28. Are the other talents in Stardom, are they going as well, or are they staying? And I don't know. If they are going with the Flames, then what's going to the Sacs? They probably have the Stardom. If they're not, if they're going to still stay the Stardom, then maybe that then opens the door for Calgary. Yeah, me and Lady have had such renewed hopes for Calgary ever since they announced who was going to get the World Cup of Hockey, and we found out that Calgary was getting a new venue. So don't feel it's that well known in this. No, well, not to me, but I don't know how. Me, but obviously I'm not a Calgary supporter. Yeah, so I think if I had to put my betting hat on who I think which markets sort themselves out, I think it's Edmonton. And that's a shame, because Edmonton is such a thriving market, and especially how they've had 2 back-to-back trips to the Stanley Cup Finals. They've had 3 appearances at the Commerce Bars in this decade alone. You've got the King and Queen of Edmonton Oilers hockey right now, Cole McDavid on Draisaitl. So, a PHL team. Plus, also, isn't Sarah Nurse has a cousin on that team? Isn't that why she then represented an Oilers jersey in the walk-in? I think she does. We need to double check that. Somebody let me know. Double check. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so I think Edmonton would be ideal, and I think both Edmonton and Calgary should get in, but it would not surprise me if it's one over the other, especially how this league is very keen to continue expanding out west. I mean, in the East, you pretty much have got it right. You need to get more West Coast teams first, particularly more teams closer to Minnesota, so that we no longer feel like we're on this island on our own in the central time zone, and then you can start thinking, right, well, then we can just do what we like. Yeah, so I'm not saying that Edmonton is definitely out the picture. I'm just saying I think Edmonton may have shot themselves in the foot because they're not prepared to compromise the fact that you can't own a piece of the pie. And if that is what Edmonton wants to get a PHL team, well then, Edmonton, you're going to be waiting a very, very long time, because that's not the deal. That is not the deal right now. Okay? Right now, the PHI is not in a position to sell the teams to individual owners. Right now, we are all under one umbrella. That is the Mark Water Group. And I personally would not have a problem if that's the way you stay. Because I don't have a problem with it. You know, before the PHI, I've never seen this kind of setup before. Normally in sports, you just see all these teams owned by various different owners, and they all run them in various different ways. Never before the PHR had I seen this kind of model, this business model, used before, and I think it's a really good business model, because you then know you've got them under one umbrella. you can trust. You can then build trust even further in the ownership group, and we don't have to worry about what team does it, what team does that, and all that. No, it's about working together. So Edmonton, yes, you're a good market, but seriously, I think you need to get over these bounty issues because you might have shot yourselves in the foot. Okay, we are expecting expansion news any day now. If you're not on that list, then I think we have to then put two together and go, yep, it was Edmonton, guys. They're the ones who said no. We want our own team, and by that we mean our own team, run by people in Edmonton. It was them, guys. Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And then, oh, hi, Calgary. Come on in. Who knows? Who knows? Because I do think Alberta is the perfect location for at least one team. Can it get two? Well, we'll see. We will see what happens. But yeah, but I think Everton, I love seeing your passion stands again as always. It's brilliant. You would be great, but we'll see. We will see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm just speculating. It might have been someone else, but for me, my money's probably on Edmonton, based on what I've heard last year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So there you go. That's the Takeover Tour done and dusted in the books. 16 games, 11 stops. Just incredible. And if you have not been to a Takeover Tour game in person, guys, then I recommend you do it. I mean, this was one of the big highlights for me last season, and based on what I saw from last season's tour, I definitely wanted to have that as a potential travel idea we could do one day. Never in a million years did I think would be doing it this time next year. Never really did I thought that, but of course it was the way the Frost schedule worked. We didn't really have decent homestands, like a 4-game homestand, which would have seen us by. We didn't really have those on the card this year. There was only really two options. There was one end of January, and there was one in the middle of March. And of course, we went for the one in the middle of March because that worked better. It gave us more breathing space, more time to plan it, and it meant that I didn't have to then come back from the USA feeling completely wiped out of jet lag before the Olympics, because that would have happened if I'd gone for the January one, because the January was literally the last 3 games before La Cortina, so it's like, oh no, and obviously having to book it in November, it's like, nope. So yeah, I think if we are going to stick with this November to May schedule, I think probably February would be the earliest you could see me come out to at the PHL. So probably February, March, April. That probably will be when you probably would see us fly out, because obviously we need to have a fair amount of time to plan it. And if the PHL is going to insist on doing schedules released at last minute, then it doesn't work for us. So yeah. So we'll see. So yeah. So if you like we were this time last year, if you loved seeing this Takeover Tour, thought, oh, I might want to go and do that one. Actually, go and attend the Takeover Tour game. Then. Wait, then when next season's going to come out, when the Takeover Tour deals for next season come out, have a look at who's on the tour, see if that's close to you, or if it's a market you feel interested in visiting, and then just go for it, because obviously you will have an incredible time. So yeah. But that's this year's tour done and dusted. Like I say, we will of course over the summer have that episode where me, Per Lady, we will come together and we will recap the tour. We will go through some of our memories. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to do what we did last year. We're going to re-watch every Takeover Tour game, and then after each one we're going to do our thoughts, and we're going to put them all together. Last year we basically just made sure each one was at least 5 to 10 minutes long. We didn't want to make it lengthy. Mainly because I did all the heavy lifting in the recaps episodes. So yeah, so don't worry, all 16, nope. There'll be probably 5 to 10 minutes each long. It's just what we did. If you haven't checked it out, go and check out last year's, and that will give you an idea how we do it. So yeah, so we basically just picked a memory each and just roll from there. So that will come out in the summer. But for now, thank you, Edmonton, and until next time, take care.